أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The Nation of Islam that was started by Elijah Poole, who later changed his name to Elijah Kareem and then later changed his name again to Elijah Muhammad. It began in 1935. The true Nation of Islam originated with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and has nothing to do with Elijah Muhammad's organization. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not Elijah Muhammad, and Elijah Muhammad was not a prophet. He was a man, no more, no less. The Nation of Islam say that if not for Elijah Muhammad, Islam would not be spreading in America today. First of all, this is false. Elijah Muhammad had zero to do with the spread of Islam in America. He had nothing to do with it. He was not teaching Islam. He was not even original. He was teaching nationalism and racism. He just reversed it from the philosophy and pedagogy that the KKK and other organizations were already perpetuating. He did not interject anything new onto the American scene or onto the world scene, because racism has always existed. On the contrary, true Islam today is attracting people from all races. Black, white, red, yellow, and brown. You can see them in the masjids. This has nothing to do with Elijah Muhammad, who taught that only black people could be Muslims, even though there was a country called Turkey. Muslims in Bosnia. Muslims everywhere in the world. You go to Mecca and you can see Muslims who are white, pale skin. Muslims. But Elijah Muhammad knew nothing about this, which proves that he did not have any type of divine revelation. He only could see his little limited vision in Detroit and Chicago. That's all he saw. He had no knowledge of the Islamic world, which is unfortunate. He had no knowledge of the Islamic world. Now, the Nation of Islam say that Allah is a man. They say that this is proved by the word he being used in the Quran. The Quran uses the word he many times. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal uses the poetic language of Arabic to express himself to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was an Arab. Nation of Islam claimed to be Africans, but they want to be speaking English. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran in the poetic language of Arabic. In the Quran, in the poetic language, the hellfire is called a she. This is poetry. It has nothing to do with gender, because hell does not have a gender. The earth is also referred to as a she, has nothing to do with gender. Allah, glory be unto him, is referred to as he, has nothing to do with gender. This is the poetic language. Nation of Islam, they also say that Allah is the black man because he refers to himself as we and us. This shows Elijah's ignorance. It exemplifies and magnifies his lack of knowledge, because Elijah Muhammad didn't understand the majestic plural, which is an English, it's not an English concept, it's actually a Semitic concept. It began with the Arabs and migrated to the Jews and later migrated to Europe. But the majestic plural is something that is used by authors, editors, and kings and sovereigns. The Queen of England once famously said, "We are not amused," referring to herself. The Arabs use this, the Jews use this. This is common knowledge in the English language, in the Arabic language, in the Jewish language, in the Aramaic language. majestic plural. Elijah Muhammad knew nothing about this, which is quite unfortunate. I want to address these things because the Nation of Islam do magnificent works, and that's their only credentials. They can't base their religion on their knowledge because they have none, except the racist diatribe and mumbo jumbo that Elijah Muhammad perpetuated. They have no knowledge of Islam. And what Elijah Muhammad taught, it was not Islam, it was black nationalism. Most of it was borrowed from Marcus Garvey. The whole concept that Elijah had when it came to black nationalism, from the uniforms of the MGT to the organization of the FOI, was stolen actually from Marcus Garvey. Having said that, let's back up. The Nation of Islam does great works. They get prostitutes off the street. They stop drug addicts from using drugs. They stop alcoholics from drinking. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did this 1,400 years ago. 1,400 years ago, Elijah did nothing new. The difference is that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he also established a nation. And not only did he establish a nation in this world, he, what's the word I'm looking for? He gave us a guide, the Quran, that was given to him by Allah, to the next world. The Nation of Islam don't believe in. They do not believe in the Akhirah. The Akhirah. They don't believe in it. They believe when you die, there is no afterlife. You go underground, that is it. So the Nation of Islam spreads this counter-Islamic philosophy and call themselves Muslims, and they deceive many people. And since they don't believe in an afterlife, the Nation of Islam, they're like a brand new Lamborghini, really. Candy apple red. And boy, they can roll. They can really roll. And anybody who sees a Lamborghini, they're tempted to ride in it because they say it looks good. Yes, the Nation of Islam, they look good. And the Muslims today, we're not following Islam, we're not remembering Allah. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said there's a polish for everything. And verily, the polish for the heart is the remembrance of Allah. And because the Muslims now are not remembering Allah, that's why you have many Muslims in America, actually they're the minority in America and in the world. Let me tell you something. If you see a Muslim in America who does not come there to spread Islam, who does not come there to do dawah, alright? You see a Muslim who's coming to America running from Islam, not spreading Islam. So don't you dare use the examples of these fools in these liquor stores selling lottery tickets and pork. This is what the Nation of Islam likes to do. They like to take the minority and use them as the example, because they know that the majority of Muslims have done something that Elijah Poole failed at. They established a nation. Let's get back to that Lamborghini. The Nation of Islam, they have a Lamborghini. And the Muslims, we don't have it. We have an old rusty helicopter. Really. I'm talking about the Ummah. I'm not talking about the religion. The Muslims were rusty, like a helicopter. And the engine is sputtering. But do you know what? That helicopter will go straight up. And it will take you where you want to go, even though it don't look so pretty. And that Lamborghini, when it reaches the end of the runway, it is going to crash, it's going to burn. Why? Because it is not designed to get you to the final destination, which is paradise. And the final destination of any Muslim is paradise. I don't want this dunya. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ad-dunya sijnul mu'mini wa jannatul kafir," that this world is a prison for the believer and it is a paradise for the non-believer. So don't get confused. Don't get blinded by this earth like Farrakhan has been, like Elijah Muhammad was. The goal of every Muslim is paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.